In this video, I'll show you the beginning stages of starting your own game studio, as well as the things to consider, like what's the best game to develop when you're just starting out in terms of ROI and sustainability. What's up? What's good? What's happening? My name is Arn. I'm a game developer and welcome to my channel. This is the first video in a series about starting your own game studio and making games. You see, when I developed my current game, Yours Truly, which is a 3D platformer, I made the mistake of not showing it to the world right away, and I wish I had documented it as I was going on throughout development. So I'm not gonna make that same mistake, and I'm gonna document everything that I'm doing with this project up until the release date. That way it'll keep me accountable, and I also have plenty of content to release. Anyways, let's get started. Creating a game by yourself or with a small team is no easy task. You have limited resources and you can be very constricted. As someone who's aspiring to create a game studio, I have to consider a lot of things like the scope of the game, development time, and profitability. Basically ROI. As an indie developer, I'm as much as a businessman as I am a developer. Basically balancing creativity, technicality, and profitability. So after doing market research, I found that the best genre of games to make for a solo or small team are walking simulators, platformers, or horror games. This is because games like RPGs, FPS shooters, simulators, and etc. have very complex gameplays and can take a very long time to develop. As a solo developer, your first job is to keep yourself alive and well, physically and mentally. Because game development takes a lot of toll on a person, you must make it sustainable. I found that horror games are like horror movies. They're relatively easy to make and very profitable. And I'm already creating a platformer game, so I want to try something new. Basically, I want to try creating the scariest game I can make because there's an art in keeping people at the edge of their seats ready to piss or shit their pants. Plus, horror usually have the best sound design, and I enjoy sound design. It sets up the anticipation. Especially in horror games, I feel like anticipation is the best part. Knowing that something is coming for you, you don't know when, is like the creepiest, scariest thing. One thing I've learned in my solo development journey is to stop making things from scratch. Now, I didn't really make things from scratch. I used 3D assets in the asset store, but I did program everything from scratch. But for the sake of sustainability, because I'll be working on 2 projects now, I'll be working with a friend as well as using kits and assets in the asset stores. Now, this doesn't take anything away from creativity. It just saves me time in the development process, and it gives me a lot of time to flesh out a unique, fun gameplay loop. So let's grab all the assets from the asset store and download it in Unity. And this is the star of the assets that we got. It's called Ultimate Horror FPS. Now, this asset provides a lot of things, but what we need from it is the character controller, the camera system, the thermometer, the flashlight, and the electromagnetic reader system. And based on all of these things, we can now conceptualize a narrative and a gameplay loop. What we came up with is a ghost hunting show where you have to capture paranormal footage. And because I'm in charge of gameplay programming, I had to learn the documentation that came with the Ultimate Horror FPS kit so that I can create a paranormal footage system that will be tied in with a camera system that came in with the kit. First, I have to import the HD camera asset into the project. Then I just have to set up a Cinemachine virtual camera on top of the camera asset and nest it within the HD camera asset. After that, I have to write the logic to detect the paranormal object within the map. How am I gonna do this? I really have no idea. I know I'm gonna be using Raycast to detect paranormal activity, so create a cube object. This is for a placeholder. We're gonna use this. We're gonna name it paranormal object. In the simplest game development programming terms, I'm basically just shooting a raycast, which is essentially a laser that will identify paranormal objects within the map. And once the paranormal object is detected, a bar will toggle and it will slowly fill up over time whenever the camera finds the paranormal activity object. And to create variety, I'll be making 2 footage systems. One is going to be a stationary system where you can set up the camera in a specific location in the map and it'll be operated by a CCTV. And the other one will be a handheld camera system where you have to get up close and personal. I'm also going to create a ritual mechanic where the player has to offer a cursed object to a ritual location. This will determine the quality of paranormal activity within the map. So basically, the higher the paranormal level is, the more sinister the activities are. And each time a ritual is done, there's a chance of a malevolent spirit being summoned, which will be the bane of the player's existence. To do this, I have to attach an anomaly component into an empty game object and nest it within an object I want to be picked up. Then I have to write the logic that will give this item a paranormal energy level. This system will be divided into 3 classes, and a scriptable object will be used to hold the data for the energy level system. For the energy level data, a script will be attached to a game object that will represent as the cursed object,
and will also have a reference to the paranormal energy level data. Another script will be attached to the player up using raycast. And once picked up, paranormal energy data will transfer from the cursed object.
After the cursed object is picked up, now the player will have to use the thermometer to find a ritual location where the player can offer the cursed object and summon whatever spirits are nearby. This ritual location will be triggered using a cube trigger or a cube collider, and the attached script will allow the player to transfer energy data from the player to the ritual location, which will also toggle a bar that will indicate the energy level of the scene. Now my friend just suggested that I create a UI element that will display whenever a player is close to a paranormal object or ritual location. How I did this is, within the script I have 2 arrays that contains the cursed object transform and the ritual location transform, which is really just a fancy word for the location of the object in the map. Then after that I took the cursed object transform and the ritual location transform and calculated the distance difference between those and the player in order to determine whenever a player is close to the object, which will then trigger or toggle the UI element. I wanted to add exploration. I added objects to be investigated, like notes and pictures and whatnot. But I also added a mechanic to the handheld camera system where some paranormal activities will only be seen through the camera or through the handheld camera. All I did was write a script that tracked whether the handheld camera is on or off, and if it is on, the mesh of the monsters, the invisible monsters, are turned on. Originally, what I wanted to do was change the layer of the monster, but it wasn't working. I don't know if it's because I'm dumb or it's just not how you do it, or I don't know how to do it or whatever. And I don't know whichever is more costly memory allocation wise. Whenever in doubt, brute force it. Basically what this does is, by using the handheld camera system, there's a good chance of a spirit being seen whenever you hear something odd around you. You can also easily miss these if you're not paying attention. Because horror games are very popular in YouTube and in streaming, it causes a lot of linear games to lose sales. So what I'll do to solve this problem for us is I want to add randomization to what paranormal activities the player will encounter, which is just a simple random.range function that returns an integer, and this integer will be used as an index in an array containing paranormal activities, which will then be used to activate paranormal objects. Coding lingo is very complicated. I confuse myself sometimes, but essentially each playthrough will be different, within limitations though, not like infinitely different, because that would be insane. Now, just because I've finished all the mechanics, it doesn't mean I have a game. All I have is a bunch of systems, a bunch of mechanics that doesn't do anything meaningful. So what I need to do is tie all of these mechanics into a cohesive gameplay loop. So there's going to be a lot of calibration, which actually is the most tedious part of game development. It's the most tedious, and it's the most difficult, and it's the most time-consuming part of game development. We saved a lot of time using kits and assets from the asset store, but we didn't just want to create an asset flip because we want to put in our own twist on the game, which allowed us to basically spend a lot more time in developing a fleshed out gameplay loop that is unique and enjoyable. Our goal now for this month is to create an LLC, a bank account for the LLC, a Steam page, and a polished demo. Hopefully we'll get everything done in time for the next Steam Next Fest, so we can showcase the game and gain wishlist. If you want to test the game as it currently is, let me know. And we'll also create all the necessities for a community to gather, like a website, a Facebook page, a Discord, or whatever. But anyways, if you like this video, please subscribe, and thank you for watching. You have a great day.